global tensions escalate as the conflict with Iran continues. New concerns about stability in the Middle East.
Here at home, 5,000 tenants are set to lose vouchers that help them pay for housing. What happens now?
And a celebration of music in Midtown. Some classics never go out of style.
These are the stories and more coming up on CJS News.
Good afternoon, I'm Chantilly McFarlane.
And I'm Gianna Totani.
We begin with our top story. President Trump issued a shoot-to-kill order on small Iranian boats in the Strait of Hormuz. This comes after Iran's Revolutionary Guard fired on 3 ships and seized 2 of them near the strait earlier this week. Talks to end the war remain in limbo, but Trump has extended the ceasefire indefinitely.
The White House had been pushing for negotiations with high-level Iranian officials. Vice President J.D. Vance was set to travel to Islamabad for those talks, but his trip was put on hold when Iran refused to confirm its participation. Iran's representatives told reporters the country was waiting for the U.S. to lift its blockade on the Strait of Hormuz before committing to the next round of negotiations. And while Trump extended the ceasefire, he also warned that the U.S. would continue bombing if an agreement wasn't reached. The uncertainty around talks followed the seizing of an Iranian-flagged cargo ship over the weekend. The ship attempted to bypass a U.S. naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz.
With no deal and both sides signaling hardline positions, the situation remains uncertain.
At least 5 people, including a Lebanese journalist, were killed in Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon yesterday. This comes after President Trump announced a 10-day ceasefire between Israel and the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah. 1 week in, and the truce is fragile.
Earlier this week, Hezbollah fired rockets and drones into northern Israel after accusing Israel of attacking civilians and destroying homes. According to the IDF, troops struck that launcher used in the attack. Israel continues to occupy parts of southern Lebanon. Israeli forces are attempting to create a buffer zone to shield northern Israel from further attacks.
The U.S. is set to host another round of talks between Israel and Lebanon today. The Lebanese are seeking an extension of the ceasefire.
Escalating tensions in the Middle East are triggering a global jet fuel shortage that could disrupt air travel during the summer's peak traveling season.
Conflict and blockade in the Strait of Hormuz is tightening global oil supplies, raising alarms across the aviation industry. Last Thursday, the head of the International Energy Agency warned the situation could become the largest energy crisis we have ever faced if shipments remain blocked. Jet fuel prices have more than doubled. Some U.S. carriers, including American Airlines and Alaska Airlines, have started raising fees, including baggage costs, to adjust to the high prices.
If the supply pinch continues, travelers could soon see fewer flights, higher fees, and major disruptions.
Back at home, the investigation continues into the deadliest mass shooting in over 2 years. Police in Shreveport, Louisiana are still looking into what led a man to kill 8 children, 7 of them his own. Officials are calling it an act of domestic violence.
Early Sunday morning, 31-year-old Shamar Elkins shot and killed 7 of his children and another child, their cousin, the youngest just 3 years old. Elkins also shot 2 women. One was his wife and the other is believed to be his girlfriend. Both are still in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Authorities are trying to figure out Elkins' motive. Relatives told the New York Times he'd recently struggled with his mental health. Elkins died shortly after during a police pursuit.
Earlier this week, another Shreveport man was arrested in connection with the murders for allegedly helping Elkins obtain the gun used in the killings. That man faces up to 15 years in prison. Here in the city, there's a new tax proposal to help address the city's budget shortfall. But there are questions over whether it will get the job done. Here's CJS News reporter Jules Vargas.
As a part of Mayor Mamdani's campaign, he ran on the promise to tax the rich. Last week, he said he's moving ahead with that plan. Alongside Governor Hochul, he announced the proposed pied-à-terre tax, which targets second homes in buildings like the Steinway Tower in Midtown, where many property owners have multi-million-dollar residences but don't live here full-time. Now, Mayor Mamdani and Governor Hochul want to tax second homes, saying that tax revenue can help close the city's $5 billion budget deficit.
This tax will raise at least $500 million directly for the city. It'll help fund things like free childcare, cleaner streets, and safer neighborhoods.
The proposal applies to second homes worth more than $5 million. There are around 13,000 of them, but critics say the tax won't help. Instead, it will weaken the city's economy. Real Estate Board of New York President James Whalen said it will not raise the amount of revenue expected, but will eliminate thousands of construction jobs, lower property values, and raise costs for New Yorkers. Albany should focus on policies that encourage investment and housing production to create a more affordable city, not ones that stifle its growth. Cities like London, Paris, Sydney, and Vancouver have similar taxes. In certain cases, city revenues grew, but some experts worry that these taxes may turn off wealthy buyers whose spending can help the city's economy. Still, for New York City, the proposal will need to pass in Albany before any taxing will go into effect. From Midtown, I'm Jules Vargas for CJS News.
The new tax proposal targets multi-million-dollar homes, but there's new reporting that suggests that some of these very expensive homes won't actually have to pay the tax. Jules Vargas joins us now. Jules, what does this really mean?
Well, it has to do with how the city would assess this tax. There's a report by a news website, The City, that says the finance department wouldn't calculate the tax based on a condo's sale price. Instead, it would look at what rental income the condo would make if it were rented out, and for that, it looks at rents in the neighborhood. The report says a penthouse that sold for nearly $88 million would be assessed at only $1 million because rents in the neighborhood were lower. The second home tax still has to be approved by the state legislature. More negotiations in Albany are ahead. Chantilly?
Mayor Zoran Mamdani talked about city-owned grocery stores during his campaign. Now, he's moving ahead with the plan. CJS News reporter Skylar Winston has more.
La Marqueta, under the rumble of the Metro North tracks, it's a market that's been here for over a century on Park Avenue in East Harlem. And now Mayor Zoran Mamdani says it's the future of how New York City will shop for groceries. But it won't be open until 2029.
During our campaign, we promised New Yorkers that we would create a network of 5 city-owned grocery stores, 1 in each borough. Stores where prices are fair, where workers are treated with dignity, and where New Yorkers can actually afford to shop.
Mamdani has allocated $70 million for 5 stores, 1 in each borough, all slated to open before the end of his term. The city will own the land and cover the overhead. A private operator will run the day-to-day business and will be contractually required to pass along savings to the shoppers.
Over here, Spanish Harlem, they don't got money. If it's cheap, they're gonna go boom.
How are they going to decide what goes in this market? Who is it going to gear to? Is it going to be equally distributed? Is it going to be specialty items? I'm a little concerned about that, but I'm also excited to see what's happening.
Critics and fiscal watchdogs are already asking questions about the price tag. The $70 million capital investment covers construction, but the long-term operating costs remain a question. The city is creating a New York City grocery task force led by 2 deputy mayors to guide the process.
Today, more than 20 small businesses operate here in La Marqueta. City officials say the city-owned grocery store will coexist with them. Skylar Winston in East Harlem, CJS News.
The administration says grocery store sites in other boroughs are still being identified. We'll be following this story. Gianna?
With summer approaching, there's a new effort underway to make sure the city's cooling towers are safe. Those towers are a part of AC systems in certain large buildings. And last summer, an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in a few cooling towers killed 7 people in Harlem. CJS News reporter Kalohe Danbara joins us live with what's being done to make sure that doesn't happen again. Kalohe?
Thanks, Gianna. That outbreak was tied to cooling towers at Harlem Hospital behind me, as well as a nearby construction site. Legionella bacteria can be grown in those summer months in these cooling towers and can spread through water vapors. If that vapor is inhaled, an individual can be infected with Legionnaire's disease, which is a rare type of pneumonia.
The city is trying to stop Legionnaire's before it starts. These cooling towers used to be tested for Legionella bacteria every month and a half. but starting in May, the towers have to be checked every month. Last year's Legionnaires outbreak sent 90 people to the hospital. The city found that 12 cooling towers had live Legionella bacteria. 4 towers were connected to buildings owned and operated by the city.
Transmission is usually through droplets, inhalation of droplets, and it likes warm, moist conditions like cooling towers, hot tubs, maybe steam rooms where it can multiply. Person-to-person contact doesn't happen.
New guidelines go into effect on May 8th. Buildings that don't test once a month or don't report their test results to the city could face thousands of dollars in fines. Inspections will be done by a laboratory accredited by the state. If Legionella is detected, the cooling tower will be disinfected and, in severe cases, the tower will be drained.
It's a disease which causes basically high fever, cough, headaches, body aches, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Now, what does that sound like? That sounds like the flu, doesn't it? And the trouble is about 10% of the people who get Legionella or Legionnaires die.
Legionnaires mostly impacts older populations and communities with higher poverty rates.
I was worried about it a little bit because, I'm old. I don't want to be catching nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm old. I don't want to be catching nothing, with my immune system. And plus, we work in the hospital.
As the weather warms up, buildings will have to follow these new regulations to avoid fines and the risk of a potential outbreak. Reporting live from Central Harlem, I'm Kalohe Dambara. This is CJS News.
Thank you, Kalohe. As the countdown to the FIFA World Cup continues, so does the debate over how fans will get to the games. CJS reporter Marina Felix joins us live with the story. Marina?
Everybody wants to see their favorite players and cheer on their countries, but if you're coming from Penn Station, that could cost you a lot.
Soccer fans planning to go see a FIFA World Cup match this summer should prepare their wallets. A round-trip ticket from New York's Penn Station to MetLife Stadium in New Jersey will cost $150, according to NJ Transit. Normally, that trip would cost just $13.
I think it's pretty expensive.
NJ Transit is defending their high price tag, saying that expanding the service during the World Cup will cost about $6 million per game.
In order to move 40,000 people and to pay for the cost of $6 million, we have to charge $150. New Jersey commuters cannot and will not subsidize the movement of fans going to the game because that would not be fair.
Round-trip rail tickets will be available for purchase starting May 13th. An $80 shuttle bus will also be offered, but space is limited. Beyond the high ticket price, critics are concerned about overloading the public transportation system.
The whole point of what makes the subway more attractive is you're avoiding traffic, you're avoiding parking, but especially you're avoiding congestion. It will be a mess.
Soccer fan and transportation consultant Andre Schweizer was able to snag tickets for the Brazil versus Morocco game on June 13th.
Considering on taking the train, as in most other parts of the world, that's how you get to a soccer stadium, but it might make more sense to try to get an Uber with a group of 3 or 4. It just goes to show how the US and US cities especially are just not ready or structurally prepared to receive this type of magnitude of events.
Fans aren't the only ones upset about the ticket prices. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill posted her criticism on X, saying it is unfair that FIFA isn't paying anything towards public transportation, yet it is making billions in profit from the event itself. For many fans, the choice is a tough one. Pay the price or find another way to get to the world's biggest soccer event.
The first game in the tri-state area will be on June 13th. Live from Penn Station, I'm Marina Felix for CJS News.
Those prices seem way too expensive for me. Thanks, Marina. Coming up next on CJS News, a popular singer arrested and charged with murder.
And a look into New York City's tipping culture when we return.
Did you know that 9 out of 10 Americans are sick of the divisions in our country? But there's one small step we can take to remember that we're still connected. All over America, strangers with different political views are coming together to talk about their lives, not politics, and discovering they actually have a lot in common. Because even if we don't see eye to eye, we can still talk. heart to heart. So let's talk. For a change. Learn more at takeonesmallstep.org.
Welcome back to CJS News. I'm Ines Fehmi.
And I'm Kat Struhar. Thanks for staying with us.
Pope Leo is concluding his tour of Africa today with his final stop in Equatorial Guinea. Yesterday, after a visit to a prison, he called for better conditions for inmates and offered them words of encouragement. Since arriving there, the Pope has condemned what he calls the colonization of Africa's mineral resources and a lust for power, remarks that stem from long-standing concerns over governance and resource control in the country. Equatorial Guinea's President Teodoro Obiang, who has been in power since 1979, has faced allegations of corruption and authoritarianism. The Pope has also toured Algeria, Cameroon, and Angola. He's met with a range of African representatives and called for greater efforts to fight poverty. Earlier on his trip, the Pope also spoke out against war, saying the world is being ravaged by a handful of tyrants.
Turning once again to the Middle East, French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer led multinational military talks in London yesterday aimed at reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
Military planners from more than 30 countries met for a two-day conference focused on restoring safe passage through the critical shipping route. The talks followed a previous international summit in Paris last Friday. The effort is part of a broader UK and France-led initiative to safeguard global energy supplies and ensure freedom of navigation after months of disruption linked to the conflict with Iran.
Leaders said they hope the planning will lay the groundwork for a multinational mission to stabilize one of the world's most important trade routes.
In California, the singer David has been arrested and charged with the murder of a teenage girl whose remains were found in his car. David, aka David Anthony Burke, faces several charges. The authorities say he sexually abused 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and when she threatened to expose him, he killed her and dismembered her body. Celeste's body was found in David's towed Tesla more than a year after she was reported missing. David has pleaded not guilty. He's being held without bail. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hurricane Helene. Devastating impacts on the southeast. Now it's time to help the people and communities who need it most. To make a one-time financial gift to the American Red Cross, scan the QR code on the screen. Make sure to select I want to support Hurricane Helene and enter how much you'd like to donate. Or go to redcross.org/donate. Together, we will make a difference for those recovering in hard-hit communities.
Now it's time for our social media segment, The Scroll.
Our reporters have fanned out across the city to find you the freshest stories for social media.
Up first, a housing safety net created during the pandemic is now disappearing, leaving thousands of New Yorkers facing an uncertain future.
Alicia Miss has the story.
What happens when your rent support suddenly stops? More than 5,000 households are now facing that question, as emergency housing vouchers are now being phased out.
The federal government created emergency housing vouchers, also known as EHVs, to help people find stable housing during the height of the pandemic. Tenants put 30 to 40% of their income toward rent, and the federal government covers the rest.
The vouchers were originally expected to provide tenants with long-term housing stability, and the federal funding was supposed to last until 2030. But now, federal officials say that the money's actually running out. It'll dry up by the end of the year, and it won't be renewed.
Mayor Mamdani says the city can't afford to step in, saying that paying for EHVs would add billions to the city budget. As a result, thousands of families are now set to lose assistance. According to the 2026 Poverty Tracker report from Robin Hood and Columbia University, more than 2 million people are living in poverty and need housing. Now, NYCHA officials are advising voucher holders to apply for alternative public housing by May 1st. Advocates say the end of the program means families could wind up without a roof over their heads.
They don't know if they will have to go into shelter or if they'll have to go into return to an unsafe situation. So as of now, there's great uncertainty about what will happen.
With the May 1st deadline approaching, advocates say many families are still trying to figure out what comes next and how they afford to stay in their homes. In Morningside Heights, Alicia Mess, CJS News.
And while we're on explainers, let's talk midterms. Inez, it's nearly election season.
With the recent congressional resignations, what's going to happen? Grace Blendanohi reports.
Midterm elections are coming up on November 3rd. Every seat in the House is up for grabs, and over a quarter of Senate seats are too. Right now, Republicans hold the majority in both chambers of Congress, but just by a few seats. But can Democrats flip the House come November? In the House, Democrats would just need to take 3 seats to gain back control. Last week, Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell and Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez resigned amid sexual misconduct allegations.
It's going to make it even harder for the House to operate, right? So anytime you lose a vote, and this might even out since it's one from each party, but still, I think it's harder for the majority party because that's one fewer votes that they can count on.
Recent special elections in Florida are showing that Democrats are gaining ground.
The number of signs that point to the federal elections, the midterm elections, being very bad for Republicans.
So far, 12 state seats have flipped to Democratic control. Recent state elections suggest voters are feeling frustrated with the majority, and public sentiment can shape who controls Congress next.
Hey, Kat, when you buy a coffee, do you tip?
Sometimes. Tipping culture is hot right now. Let's take a look at this story from Adiha Anis.
Should you be tipping when ordering a coffee? At many coffee shops, customers are now prompted to tip before even receiving their order. And coffee prices, they've risen. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, coffee prices have risen more than 30% since 2020. And research has found that nearly 2/3 of Americans report tipping fatigue.
I don't mind tipping for coffee. What I don't like is that it's so automatic.
Kind of tip according to the price of the coffee, but in general, I think that tipping culture has gone a little bit out of control.
And baristas have said that they find tipping for coffee as more of a generous act than something compulsory.
I'm okay if they don't tip also. I'm fine.
I feel like $1 or $2 tip isn't going to hurt anyone. It's not hurting my pocket. But yeah.
Customers have also said that they recognize the hard work of the barista and that if a complicated drink was ordered, tipping is a must.
Complex drink, especially with a lot of modifications, deserves a tip.
As digital payment systems become more common, tipping is expanding beyond just sit-down service, raising questions when it's expected and when it's not. And next time that screen pops up when you order a coffee, what are you gonna hit?
And just days ago, New York celebrated Record Store Day.
Lily Cortez Gutierrez was our woman on the inside. Everything you need to know and more from Rockefeller Center's annual Indie Plaza celebration.
Streaming might be dominating music today, but here at Indie Plaza for Record Store Day, vinyl is making a comeback.
April 18th marks Record Store Day, a worldwide celebration of independent record stores where artists drop exclusive releases and perform live.
We have a brand new album to celebrate.
I like some of the bands playing today. Incendiary.
The Recording Industry Association of America reports that streaming is still leading in music sales by a wide margin, nearly 84%. Vinyl sales make up 8%. Some music lovers say they're devoted to this throwback.
I think it's a whole experience to listen, having the physical album.
Streaming feels so intangible. Vinyl is so powerful because it makes music tactile. It feels like you can own a piece of it.
It's also like you have the memory of buying the record, and it stays with you depending on where you get it or when you get it or how you got it. I bought Turnstile's first record in 2015.
For some, vinyl isn't just nostalgic, it's inspiring.
I was gifted a Led Zeppelin 4 vinyl from my dad. I love Led Zeppelin. It's kind of like what made me want to become an artist.
It's also about the sound quality.
It sounds so much more crisp. It sounds like you're in the room of music being played.
Some say vinyl preserves the original vision of an album.
Sgt. Pepper's is a classic example of a concept album where every single step of the process, the songs, their order, the album cover artwork, it all meant something.
From the listening experience to the feeling of owning the music, vinyl is drawing a new generation of listeners. At Rockefeller Center, I'm Lily Cortez Gutierrez for CJS News.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Leland Melvin, and I traveled to space twice as a NASA astronaut. Space technologies help protect our precious Earth. Space helps us monitor changes in carbon emissions, track the pace of climate change. It even helps us fight natural disasters. Make sure that you get out to your local science museum or go to spaceforall.us to explore and learn about space and science. Space is for all.
And finally, we leave you with a taste of Japanese culture just steps from campus. Our executive producer, Destiny Jones, took us to one of the largest Japanese street festivals in the world.
It's the 10th anniversary of Japan Fest, a festival celebrating food, community, and connection.
Vendors line the street, serving everything from mochi to fresh takoyaki, with long lines of people waiting to get a taste.
But Japan Fest isn't just about food. It's about the atmosphere, too.
Friends came out to mix and mingle, and yes, even puppies made their way through the crowd.
I was there on Saturday after taking my grad photos, and that food looked so good. Well, that's going to do it for us on CJS News. I'm Gianna Totani.
I'm Ines Fermi.
I'm Kat Struhar.
And I'm Chantilly McFarland. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.